I come from a textbook American family. My ancestors came to this country because they knew how to build things. Carpenters slinging plaster and hanging drywall constructed our family tree. German-speaking immigrants became working-class Americans. They fought for their country, got educated, became educators, conservationists, and engineers. They started families and tried to ensure that their kids had more opportunity than they did. I studied architectural engineering right here at Missouri S&T, and you can see how all of those strings came together for me. Our resilience relies on the resilience of our built environment. I was born in a hospital, slept all night in a room. I'm standing here in a theater. Buildings and their systems are such a constant that we rarely take the time to pay any attention to them. I walked past, over, and under so much building-related infrastructure to get here. There's no way that I could possibly comprehend it all and get where I was going, much less stay on the stage. We have a lot of trust inherent in our relationship with the built environment. We expect the power and water to be on. We expect temperatures to be comfortable. We expect buildings to do no harm. I don't typically see people walking into a building and cringing out of fear because of how much weight is above them. This is really the core challenge in optimizing our building stock, really truly seeing the buildings around us and the opportunities that are there. Buildings are an economic powerhouse. They're part of what McKinsey estimates is a $10 trillion worldwide construction industry. They generate revenue, pay taxes, have market value, and let us do whatever it is we do in the best way that they support us. We expect them to stay standing. We expect them to not let the weather in. We expect them to not bankrupt us, not burn, a number of other things. And we've certainly had a lot of opportunity to think about those things. The effects of climate-related natural disasters, the effects of terrorism and disease, raising insurance rates and utility costs. But oddly enough, we still like to think about buildings as transactional. It's easier to think about them as an upfront investment or cost and not really the whole scale of what a building is. Buildings are more dimensional than blueprints. They cost more to operate and maintain over time than they do to build. But if we refocus for a second, the people inside a building cost considerably more than building operations. It's a wise investment to consider your human capital and not just upfront construction costs. Buildings are unlike cars in that they run all the time and the meters are on. If we don't consider efficiency when we make building decisions or we defer maintenance projects, there's a good chance that they'll end up costing us more in the long run. The EPA estimates that 30% of utility bills are inefficiencies, and about half of those can be reclaimed through low to no cost interventions. One example, in 2009, Lawrence Berkeley National Lab estimated that duct leakage in commercial buildings costs $2.9 billion a year. Right now, with all of the things that we're thinking about and investing in, AI, data centers, bringing back manufacturing to our shores, the demand for electricity is really an important conversation, and energy efficiency is one of the easiest, quickest, and best ways to get there. It also allows us to bring renewable energy a little bit closer to us. It allows us to lower our bills. If we go a step farther, we can see that the built environment is one of the most important and accessible avenues for us to reduce our impact on climate and the environment. According to Architecture 2030, almost 40% of global CO2 emissions come from buildings. 11% materials and construction, 28% building operations. And this isn't a problem that we started. We inherited this. Cushman & Wakefield estimates that 80% of today's buildings will still exist in 2050. That illustrates the importance of retrofitting existing building stock. If we think about how buildings live over time, it can be a challenge to really invest in those projects in a building. If we give ourselves the time and the space for good planning, we can implement these projects in the existing buildings over time and avoid the status quo of costly emergency repairs and replacements. A building that's used and a building that adapts survives. My house didn't have running water when it was built. I can't imagine life now without it. It's also important to note that climate impacts are a local problem. The city of St. Louis estimates that 80% of its greenhouse gas emissions come from its buildings. And you can walk outside the door, see the stormwater runoff. You can feel the urban heat island effect. You can breathe in all of the things that we're putting into the air. And inside the building, your body is dealing with those effects too. According to the American Lung Association, we breathe in around 2,000 gallons of air a day. Indoor air is 2 to 5 times as polluted as outdoor air, according to the EPA. So what's in your air? Where is it coming from? What systems are moving it around? Who designed them and installed them? Are they being maintained? Are they growing mold along with inefficiencies? Harvard researchers have connected good indoor air quality to incredible cognitive benefits. Our minds process information better. The flip side, the paradigm that we're currently living in, OSHA estimates that sick days and lost productivity due to poor indoor air quality cost $15 billion a year. And this conversation is intrinsic and connected to all of our social inequities. If you look at heat maps of poverty, of building disinvestment, of race, they look identical to those of increased asthma risk, increased vulnerability to climate, reduced lifespans, increased lead poisoning. We all know what it feels like to be stressed in the spaces that we're in. You can think about a time where maybe your furnace didn't work, you had a flooded basement, there was an unexpected expense. Some people are living with these realities every single day. There are people in our communities who struggle to breathe due to asthma, thinking that there is something inherently wrong with them, but it was imposed on them based on the places in which they lived. We build affordable housing and senior housing cheaply. Those buildings can never meet the same standards. The utility bills are higher for the same size apartment. Those utility bills are higher for the same size apartment in affordable housing than they are in market rate housing. These folks are choosing utilities or food. We raise children in these homes. These children are sent to schools where the problem continues. We spend money in unnecessary overhead in a trade-off for futures. When we invest in failure, we cannot expect success. Another challenge is a lack of expertise in the people that make decisions for buildings. Architects and engineers are our expertise. They're legally obligated to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. That responsibility came through hard-earned lessons, and it's the most important piece of professional licensure. Yet when we don't include resiliency in our work, we are failing our ethical obligations to our communities and to our profession. Right now, there are new tools, codes, and policies rolling out across this country to allow people to make more informed decisions about the operating cost of their buildings. A building that works well and is affordable to operate is the investment that people want. And at the end of the day, every single plan is just a concept. Skilled labor and building maintenance teams are undervalued, underappreciated, and undersupported. If we invest in these teams, if we unlock their potential and work with them, all of these outcomes improve. My family's story is not unique. We feel a lot of pride and investment in our community. I'm surrounded by things that we built. This is an opportunity to develop a workforce, to develop a sustainable workforce for economic development, but it's also an opportunity to share and create true civic ownership. Humans' resilience relies on buildings. They provide us those foundational physiological safety and security needs, as illustrated by Abraham Maslow. Right now, our buildings are failing us. They're failing us economically, they're failing us environmentally, and they're failing us socially. We all have a part to play to improve the places where we live, work, learn, and play. And it's going to be challenging, but we have the resilience to rise to those challenges. We're already in these buildings. We have a voice. We have power. So take a look around you. Measure and manage what you're using. Manage what's wearing out. Look at opportunities, technological advances. Find incentives that are available. Find a common sense project and do it. And then turn around and help the people that you care about do it too. It can be as simple as a programmable thermostat. Take a moment to appreciate the people who design, build, construct, enforce, and maintain. If you're having a good day and everything's working, they did that. The end goal of all of this is that we don't leave these problems for someone else, and we get to reap all of the benefits of doing the work. So let's allow my children and yours to have an unburdened opportunity for success. That's resilience for society, it's resilience for individuals. But it's also a little thing that we like to call the American dream. Thank you.